Lost inheritance. Larry's granddad was a wealthy man who loved playing pranks on his relatives. That's why, when he passed away, no one could find his will. But one day, 5 years later, Larry was looking through some old papers. Suddenly, his breath caught in his throat. The document he was holding was his granddad's will. It read, "I hid all my money and other valuables at 2 p.m. sharp under my favorite cherry tree, right where its shadow ends. The one who digs it out will be my heir." Larry was ecstatic. He was going to be rich. He drove to his granddad's villa and found the cherry tree. He waited for an hour or so until 2 p.m. and started to dig. But try as he might, his efforts didn't pay off. Confused and upset, he had to return home. Why didn't he find anything? It's been several years since the granddad hid his valuables. The tree has grown taller, and its shadow has become longer too. A smart investigator. A man living in a small village in the mountains got his goat stolen. He was sure one of his neighbors was behind this crime. The head of the village invited 4 suspects and said, "I'm going to give each of you a magic stick. Bring them to me in the morning. By that time, the thief's stick will have grown by 5 inches." The next day, the head of the village examined the suspect's stick. He immediately knew who had taken the goat. How? The thief's stick was 5 inches shorter than those of the rest. He had broken it, expecting it to grow longer during the night. A realization. 3 friends fell asleep under a tree in the countryside. While they were resting, a boy painted mustaches on their faces. Once the men woke up, they started to laugh. But then, all of a sudden, they stopped. Why? At first, they saw the mustaches on their friends' faces and found it funny. But then, they realized their friends were laughing too. It meant they had mustaches on their faces as well. An apple riddle. Eric was locked in a room with 19 other people. Each of them could see the entire room and all the people inside without turning their head or body or moving in any other way. To get out of the room, Eric had to place an apple in such a way that everyone but one person could see it. The guy managed to do it. How? He put the apple on one person's head. A weird choice. Every day, Mark rides his bike to the railway station to get to the college. There are 2 stops near his home. One 1 mile away from his house, and the other 2 miles away in the opposite direction. In the morning, he always gets on the train at the first stop. And in the afternoon, he gets off at the second. Why? Mark's home and the stations are on the hill, and this method allows the guy to ride his bike down without any effort. A draw. 2 teams were playing soccer against each other. Each of them scored 2 goals in total, and still it wasn't a tie since one team won and the other lost. How come? One of the teams scored an own goal. Time travel. An inventor has created a time machine. He's packed enough food, water, and other necessities and is now ready to test his invention. He sets the timer to go 500 years back into the past. The man is about to press the start button when a thought comes to his mind. He slaps his forehead, takes the time machine and his supplies, and goes downstairs. What for? This way, he'll avoid a nasty fall. Multi-story buildings were rare 5 centuries ago. A money problem. A notorious criminal caught rich businessman Brian and locked him in a room. "I won't let you go until you double the money I leave for you." And the criminal put $5,000 on the table. By the time he returned, Brian had already doubled the money. He hadn't left the room or communicated with anyone. Then, how did he do it? He put the money in front of the mirror. Granted wishes. Amanda was walking along the beach one day and found a glass bottle. The thing looked ancient, and the girl had to put a lot of effort into opening it. To her shock, guess what? A genie appeared from the bottle. "I'll grant you 3 wishes, but there's one condition. You can't wish for more wishes." Amanda agreed and still managed to get more wishes. How did she do it? She started with wishing that the genie allowed her to ask for more wishes. Strange reaction. 2 British women wanted to lose weight. They went to the gym, ate healthily, and drank a lot of water. In 2 weeks, both of them lost 10 pounds. But one woman was happy and the other upset. Why? The first woman lost weight, and the second, 10 pounds in UK money. 11. How did she survive? Melissa stayed late at work one evening. When she was walking home, it was already dark. Suddenly, she noticed a group of people. They were moving in a strange, jerky way, closer and closer. With growing horror, Melissa realized the approaching people were actually zombies. In a moment, she got surrounded. Then, darkness. And still, the next day, the girl was in the kitchen making herself a vegetable salad. How is it possible? Look at the date. It's November 1st. It was Halloween the day before, and zombies were just some dressed-up guys. Beach volleyball. Andrew and his friend Kenneth went to the beach to have some fun. Andrew started to play volleyball with Gary, a guy they met there. After the game was over, Andrew went to a beach bar and ordered a lemonade. But after drinking it, he almost immediately felt sick and lost consciousness. Kenneth called an ambulance and his friend was taken to a hospital. There it was discovered Andrew had been poisoned. The police questioned the suspects. Kenneth said, "I'm sure the barman put something in Andrew's drink." The barman exclaimed, "Why would I poison my customer? It was probably the guy he played volleyball with. He lost the game and wanted to get revenge." Gary said, "After we finished playing, I went to swim in the sea. I didn't even notice Andrew had been taken away." Who poisoned Andrew? It was the barman. He lied about Gary losing the game to frame the guy. A teacher's riddle. A student had failed his test and came to his teacher asking how he could improve his marks. The teacher replied, "If you manage to solve my riddle, I'll give you a better mark. You have a cardboard box. It's easier to lift from a wooden floor than from a steel table. What's in the box?" The student thought for a while and answered correctly. What did he say? The box is filled with magnets. A missing model. Ashley was a popular fashion model. On Friday, she had to open a show, but 10 minutes before the event, she vanished. Several witnesses claim the girl had been taken away in a black car. The police questioned 4 suspects. Betty, Ashley's colleague, said, "I felt sleepy before the show. I'd made myself a cup of coffee and was drinking it when Ashley disappeared." Kevin, the manager, told the detective some equipment had been broken. He was trying to solve this problem. Paul, the hairstylist, explained that he had been refreshing the model's makeup. And Donna, the designer, said she had only come several minutes before the show. Who was behind Ashley's disappearance? It's Paul. He's a hairstylist, and they don't deal with makeup. Plus, there are no beauty products at his station. In disguise. A feared criminal managed to escape from the police. He got a job in a wealthy mansion. When the detectives arrived there, they found out 3 men had been hired recently. They questioned each of them. Michael, the cook, told the police he had been working in a restaurant before. But then the restaurant went out of business and he found a new job. John, the gardener, answered he had always been interested in plants. After finishing garden design courses, he landed this job. Robert, the security guard, said his father was the house owner's friend. He helped Robert to get his position. Who's the criminal? It's the cook. Before the police came, he'd been trying to make an omelet. But look, it's full of eggshells. A real cook would never make such a mistake. A train mystery. It's something that comes with a train, leaves with a train, but is no use to a train. And yet, no train can go without it. What is it? It's noise. Yeah, really. Thirsty on an island. Simon was shipwrecked and washed up on the shore of a deserted island. He's thirsty, and the only thing he has is a plastic bag and a straw. After looking around, he sees a juicy cactus, a tall leafy tree, a dirty pond, a pool of mud. How can he use the plastic bag to get water? He can't use the cactus. It can be toxic, and without a sharp tool to reach the pulp, the plastic bag is useless. The dirty pond and muddy pool are filled with bacteria and parasites, and without tools to start a fire and boil the water, he could get sick. The best bet is the tall, leafy tree. He simply needs to tie the bag on the edge of a branch and pierce it slightly with a stick. The tree will produce drinkable water through transpiration. Well, that's clever. Where's the waiter? Adam is the head waiter at a one-story steakhouse. On the busiest night of the week, he vanished, and the owner called the police to file a missing persons report. Detectives talked to the last 3 people who saw him. A trainee server said she only saw him when he got to work and parked his bicycle. The chef said he saw the waiter in the kitchen when he came to get a glass of orange juice. The cook said he last saw the waiter going upstairs. After the statements, the police arrested the cook. Why? This was a one-story restaurant. He couldn't have gone upstairs. Spilling the tea. Susie went to study for her university exam at a coffee shop. She ordered a white tea and sat down. 10 minutes later, she got up to go to the bathroom. When she returned, her laptop wouldn't turn on and her teacup was empty. Someone had spilled the tea on her computer and cleaned it up. She called the manager, told him what happened, and they came up with 3 suspects. The barista said he had been swamped and didn't see anything. The supervisor said he was sorry that the milky tea spilled on the computer, and he could see if insurance would cover the cost. The head barista said he was sorry the milky tea spilled on her laptop, and he'd make her another one while they waited for the police to arrive. Immediately, the store manager knew who did it. It was the supervisor. He couldn't have known that the tea had milk in it since it was cleaned up. The only person who remembered the order was the one who prepared it. The missing phone. We're at the coffee shop again. This time, Stuart forgot his phone on the table when he left. But once he realized and came back, his phone was gone. He saw a guy running outside the store, and Stuart chased him. When he caught him, Stuart said, "I've lost my device. Did you take it by accident?" The man replied, "I have no idea where your phone is, sir. I was just grabbing coffee." Stuart immediately called the police. Why? Stuart told him he lost his device. That could have been anything from a smartwatch to a camera or something else. The guy couldn't have known it was a phone unless he took it. Where did the baker go? The Cupcakes Den is a local shop that became famous for its tasty, well, you guessed it, cupcakes. On Monday morning, the head baker vanished, and the shop couldn't deliver the 200 cupcakes they had promised for a birthday party. The owner called the police, and they had 3 suspects in their custody. The helper said he had gone out to buy more frosting, but when he returned, the baker was gone. The waiter said he had been cleaning the shop of the massive mess from making the 200 cupcakes. The manager said he was meeting with a new supplier to get more beef jerky at the shop. The detectives knew who was lying. Can you guess it? It's the manager. Who needs beef jerky at a cupcake shop? Get the last question right. Adam was taking part in a brain teaser TV game show, and he had one last question to answer before winning $50,000. He was tired and decided to call his best friend Luke to help him. The host asked, "If you could rearrange the order of the letters in this word, ACIPCIF, what does it show? A country, a city, a large mountain, or an ocean?" Luke answered correctly. Can you? An ocean. If you unscramble the word, it shows Pacific. Where's he hiding? Martin vanished one morning and his family called the police. Detectives searched everywhere and questioned 15 people, but none of them gave any untruthful answers. His son Jake found a letter from his dad saying, "If you love me, you'll find me." He went to his father's office to see if he could find any clues. He was looking around the room and immediately knew where his father was hiding. Can you guess it? On the wall, there's a picture frame with his dad's cabin, and it's got a hand-drawn circle on it. He must be there. Lost in an underwater cave. Sarah just got her certificate as a cave diver. She decided to spend her afternoon exploring some dangerous underwater ocean caves. While turning left and right, she got lost. She didn't have enough time to look for her way back and continued swimming further. That was when she came across 3 openings. Through the first, there were 45 hungry piranhas. Through the second, a great white shark, and through the last one, a giant box jellyfish. Which is the safest path? The first one. Piranhas are freshwater fish. They can't survive in salt water. The van. Susan was outside watering her plants when she noticed 3 people dressed in black clothing carrying electronic devices from her neighbor's home. She asked them what they were doing, and they said they were from a moving company. Immediately, Susan called the police. Why? There were no license plates on the van, and movers don't only carry electronic equipment, but all sorts of stuff. The prison escape. One morning, Detective Smith was called into a maximum security prison to discover how 3 men had managed to escape from their cells. The prisoners could neither see nor talk to each other, but they arranged their escape together. They went to the shower room at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and only one person was allowed in at different periods. How did they manage to communicate and escape? They wrote messages to each other on the bathroom mirrors, used steam to read them, and planned their escape together. The villa disappearance. It was a cold, rainy weekend. Michael, Susie, Amara, and Luke were spending Saturday and Sunday together playing board games. On Saturday morning, when they woke up, Amara was missing. They looked everywhere for her but couldn't find her. That was when Luke called the police. Detectives examined the room and asked everybody what they were doing at 4 a.m. Luke said he couldn't sleep, so he went downstairs to the gaming room to play some online games. Michael said he couldn't sleep either, so he went outside to look at the stars. Susie said she followed Michael outside to get some fresh air. That was when the detectives figured out who was lying. Michael and Susie. It was a rainy weekend, remember? The cursed photo. Alan was on his final stretch to becoming a detective. He passed a bunch of assessments until he reached the last one. This was where his attention to detail skills would be tested. The chief of police handed Alan a photo. He told him, "This is Michael. He's having a birthday party. But something in this photo is very eerie." Alan spotted it in 2 seconds. Can you? There's a hand inside the blue balloon. Well, how did it get there? The right amount of water. Peter was the best problem solver in his class. One day, his chemistry teacher called him up to test his intelligence and inspire his peers. He gave Peter 3 glass jugs. None of them had any measuring markings on them, but just a label showing their maximum capacity. The first jug was filled with water up to the top, and the label read 8 liters. The second was empty, and its label showed 5 liters. The third was also empty, with a maximum capacity of 3 liters. The teacher told Peter to arrange the liquid so that only 2 liters remained in one glass jug without using any measuring tools. Peter figured out how to do it in 4 seconds. First, he needs to fill the 5-liter jug all the way to the top. Then he needs to pour the water from the 5-liter jug into the 3-liter jar until it's full. What remains in the 5-liter jug is 2 liters. The treasure coin. An archaeologist spent the past year looking for a lost ancient treasure. As he was digging, he found one ancient gold coin. He took it to his museum. When his colleagues carefully cleaned the coin and took a closer look, they refused to accept it. Why? It reads 100 BCE on the back, Ancient people didn't know they lived in that era. Or did they? No, they didn't. A tragedy in the artist's house. Ryan was a famous artist. Unfortunately, when he was 60, he had an accident that left him blind. The man hired 3 people to help him: Jason, the driver, Laura, the housekeeper, and Timothy. He looked after the garden. One afternoon, Timothy went to talk to Ryan and found the artist on the floor. Someone had attacked him. The police arrived to investigate. Jason told him he and Ryan had had a great time in the morning playing computer games. Then he left to pick up Ryan's daughter from the airport. Laura said she'd spent all day in the kitchen cooking dinner. And Timothy said that before finding Ryan, he had been at the market choosing new fruit trees for the garden. Who was behind the attack? It was Jason. Ryan was blind and couldn't play computer games. Bizarre guests. When Melissa was traveling around Europe, she met several girls who were from the same city as her. They got along very well. When all of them returned from the trip, Melissa decided to organize a get-together and invited them to her house. The girls came with a big cake and lots of colorful balloons. But even before they touched the food or drinks, Melissa felt dizzy and lost consciousness. When the girl recovered, she was having a splitting headache. There was nobody around, and all her money and other valuables were missing. Melissa looked at the photos taken before she fainted. After examining them for a couple of minutes, she understood what had happened. Can you figure it out? There was sleeping gas in the balloons. The other girls must have put on face masks not to be affected by the gas. When Melissa lost consciousness, they took all her expensive stuff and left. Wow, time to get some better friends, huh? A mysterious disappearance. Stephen called the police and told him his wife Lisa was missing. She called her husband at 8 in the evening and told him she was about to go home, but she never arrived. The police questioned 3 suspects. Ashley, Lisa's best friend, said she had just returned from her vacation. Mark, the neighbor, was sure he'd seen Lisa in the afternoon, driving off in her car. And Paul, Lisa's colleague, told the police he'd spotted the woman in a shopping mall in the evening. Who's lying? Paul knows something about Lisa's whereabouts. The woman wasn't in the shopping mall that night. She was at a movie theater. A call to the police. Amanda was going through a deserted park when someone hit her on the head. When she recovered, her bag, along with her phone, money, and documents, were gone. There were no people around but for one elderly lady. Amanda rushed toward her, explained the situation, and asked to call the police. The lady told her not to worry and started to press 911 on her phone. After talking for a minute, she said, "They're going to be here in no time." As soon as Amanda heard these words, she sprinted off. Why? Amanda saw the lady's phone didn't have any signal. Then how could she call the police? A suspicious senior citizen. A date. Betty was on cloud 9 after 2 guys asked her out. But she felt she couldn't give hope to both of them. She had to choose one. Stephen was her secret crush. From a rich family, handsome and smart. She'd been dreaming about him for a year. John was a good guy too. She knew for sure he was kind and funny. The girl was at a loss. Which one should she pick? Any ideas? Betty should go for John. Stephen isn't serious about her. He has a lipstick mark on his neck, left there by Stanley. So yeah, better choose John. A bizarre code. Brian's friends invited him to spend the summer vacation in Europe with them. Unfortunately, the guy had serious study problems. To punish him, his dad took his passport away and locked it in a safe. The only way for Brian to get his documents and have some fun was to crack the code. Yeah, we still don't want to crack the books, huh? When he sneaked into his dad's study, he saw a piece of paper stuck to the safe. There were 3 drawings on it: a rose, a rainbow, a calico cat, and a banana. Brian thought for a while and then pressed 4 numbers. The code was correct and the safe opened. Which numbers were they? (2731). Each digit corresponds to the numbers of colors of the objects in the picture. An anxious husband. A man called the police. He could hardly talk. "My wife! She got into a car accident!" When the police arrived, the woman had been already rushed to a hospital. The detectives found out that she had crashed into a tree right next to her house. The car was beyond repair. One of the police officers examined the vehicle and saw the woman's bag. Inside, he found her driver's license and car keys, some money and bank cards, a notebook and her passport. After that, the husband was immediately arrested. Why? How could the woman's car key be in her bag if she was driving? That's a good question. Find the thief. Detective Lawrence was walking along the street when he heard someone screaming. He rushed over there and saw a teenager crying. What happened? "I was talking to my friend when someone grabbed my phone and pushed me to the ground. When I came to my senses, there was no one around, but I saw that cafe's door closing." The detective entered the cafe the girl was talking about and looked around. There were 5 people inside. All of them seemed to be rather decent. Can you figure out who's the criminal? It's the man near the coffee machine. His drink is still steaming. It means he just bought it. A crime in the neighborhood. One day, Mr. Martin called the police. His car was stolen right from the street outside his house. The detective questioned 3 suspects. Eric, a teenager who lived next door, said he had been at school and had seen nothing suspicious. Amy, a young artist renting a house across the street, had been too engrossed in her work to pay attention to her surroundings. But Mr. Brandon, an elderly man whose house was next to Amy's, accused Eric of taking the car. Mr. Brandon was having his breakfast when he saw the teenager get into the vehicle and drive off. Strangely, after his words, the police officers arrested the elderly man. Why? The only thing Mr. Brandon could see out of his window during breakfast was his tall brick wall. Desperate for help. Kenneth, a newbie police officer, was walking along the street, proudly wearing his uniform. Suddenly, a pretty girl rushed toward him. "Help!" she screamed. "I've been mugged!" After Kenneth made her calm down, the girl told him her story. "I was walking home from college when a man ran up to me. He hit me in the eye and took all my jewelry and money." When Kenneth heard this, he immediately realized the girl was lying. How? The girl was wearing glasses. If the criminal had hit her in the eye, her glasses would have been shattered. A runaway wife. Sharon's husband was a wealthy businessman. He never had time for his wife. One day, the young woman had enough. She took some money and ran away. She knew it wouldn't be difficult for her husband to find her. That's why she tried to be as discreet as possible. The next hotel where she checked in was good, but nothing special. She hardly had enough time to unpack her things when someone knocked on the door. The man said he was from the reception. But when Sharon opened the door, she realized her husband's people had found her. How did she figure it out? The man's uniform was different from the one the hotel receptionists were wearing. A missing collection. Mr. Bernard had an unusual hobby. He collected rare watches. One day, he came home and discovered his collection was gone. He called the police. They decided to start by questioning the man's neighbors. George said he had a busy day – meetings, video conferences, emails. Anna told police she had been feeling unwell since the very morning. She canceled all her plans and stayed in bed. Jason said his car had broken down and he'd been repairing it for the whole day. One person seemed suspicious enough for the police to arrest them. Who was it? Anna was lying. Look at her, all dressed up, wearing accessories and makeup. She doesn't look like a person who has spent all day in bed. A blatant lie. A famous pop singer, Anthony Black, was attacked after his concert. He was taken to a hospital. The police questioned several of his fans. Linda was crying. "I took Anthony's autograph and couldn't wait to boast to my friends about it." Lisa said, "I asked Mr. Black to sign his photo. After I got it, I went to buy a coffee." Jason added, "Anthony was super nice and friendly. I didn't notice anything strange." The police immediately arrested the fan who seemed suspicious. Who was it? It was Lisa. The autograph in the photo looks different from the singer's real signature. Charlotte and Elizabeth are doing some homework. Charlotte is going to iron some clothes, and Elizabeth is about to cook. Who's not being smart? Elizabeth. Charlotte's safe because the iron is turned off. Lucas and Liam are going on a field trip with their kids. Lucas is distracted while his daughter is climbing a tree. Liam is talking to another parent while his son is petting a dog. Who is wrong? Lucas. The branch his daughter is climbing is cracking, and she is about to fall. Ava and Olivia are finally leaving home for their first night out after maternity leave. Ava decides to walk, and Olivia is waiting for a taxi. Who is not ready? Olivia. She forgot to finish her makeup. Michael and Logan are bloggers who take selfies in dangerous places. This time, Michael is taking a selfie while surfing on a huge wave, and Logan is taking one standing on the edge of a bridge. Who is not smart? Michael. In Logan's case, at least there are people around who can call emergency services if something goes wrong. Michael is alone. It's early morning. Ian and Nolan are driving their kids to school. Who is not smart? Nolan. His child is not in the car. Jackson and Emma are volunteering at an animal shelter. Jackson is feeding the cats, and Emma is washing the dogs. Who is wrong? Jackson. He gave the cats dog food by mistake. Scarlett and Ellie are going to bed. Scarlett kept her door open so her cat could enter during the night, while Ellie prefers to close her door. Who is not smart? Scarlett. You should always close your bedroom door at night. In case of fire, it'll stop the flames for a while and give you more time. Riley and Isabella are taking their kids to kindergarten. Riley is riding a bike with her daughter, and Isabella and her son are going by car. Who is wrong? Isabella. Her child isn't wearing a seatbelt. Lily and Oliver have job interviews at 4 o'clock. Lily is ironing her best suit, and Oliver is waiting in the hallway wearing jeans. Who's not getting the job today? Lily. She must have forgotten the time. The interview is in 5 minutes, and she's still at home. Sophia and Aiden are working in the garden. Sophia is watering the flowers while her cat is walking around. Aiden is mowing the lawn while his child is playing nearby. Who's not smart? Aiden. It's dangerous to use the lawnmower when children are close by. John and Brandon are making breakfast for their kids. John is making sandwiches, and Brandon is making eggs with bacon. Who is wrong? Brandon. He forgot to turn on the stove. Thomas and Abigail are going on a date. Thomas arrived a half an hour early and decided to buy some flowers. Abigail just returned from London and is driving to meet him. Who is wrong? Abigail. She's driving on the left side of the road. Ryan and Kaylee are having fun outside during their Christmas break. Ryan is learning how to skate on the lake, and Kaylee is skiing in the forest. Who is not smart? Ryan. The ice on the lake is cracking, and there's no one around to help him. Asher and Haley are enjoying their vacations. Asher is chilling at the beach, and Haley is climbing the highest mountain around. Who is not behaving wisely? Asher. Although Haley's activity is quite risky, she seems to be okay. But Asher fell asleep at the beach and is going to get a sunburn. Chloe and Avery are having some quality time on Friday. Chloe is reading a book, and Avery is watching a documentary. Who is missing something? Avery. She forgot to turn off the oven, and something's burning. Hannah and Maya are meeting their friends today. Hannah arrived by bike and is waiting for her friend by the house. Maya arrived by car, opened the doors, and is waiting for her friend to come down. Who is not smart? Maya. It's not safe to stay in the car with unlocked doors. A stranger can quickly get in the car and she wouldn't be able to do anything from the front seat. Mason and Jacob are going on a trip to the desert, where they'll spend a whole day. Who is not adequately prepared? Mason. The sun is powerful, and he's not wearing a hat. Emily and Madison are spending their time outdoors, but it's not their lucky day. Emily stumbled and fell in some mud. Madison was swinging but fell. Now they both are getting up. Who made a mistake? Madison. The swing is still moving, and it may hit her head if she gets up. Aubrey and James are cleaning the house. Aubrey is listening to music while vacuuming the living room, and James is washing the windows. Who is not being smart? Aubrey. The vacuum cleaner isn't plugged in. Mia and Ethan are going on summer vacation. Mia is going to Greece, and Ethan is visiting his brother in Sydney. Who is not smart? Ethan. He's packed shorts and swimwear, but he won't need them because it's winter in Australia. Carter and Layla are in a hurry for work. Carter is walking while talking on his phone, and Layla is running while texting. Who's going to be late? Layla. She's looking at her phone and doesn't see the pit she's about to walk into. Leah and Aaron are driving to meet their friends. Leah has all of her things scattered in the car, and Aaron is traveling above the speed limit. Who is not smart? Leah. It's not safe to keep unprotected things inside the car. In case she stops suddenly, something can hit her very hard. William and Daniel are driving and are late for work. Who is wrong? Daniel. He's driving way above the speed limit in the neighborhood. Jane and Amelia are resting in the park after running 5 miles. Jane is eating, and Amelia is drinking water from the fountain. Who is not smart? Amelia. The warning sign says that the water isn't drinkable. Max and Ezra were driving around the desert and got stuck in the middle of nowhere. They burned a spare tire to produce some smoke. Max stayed close to the tire, and Ezra walked away in search of something helpful. Who is not smart? Ezra. You should never leave the vehicle. Chances are the rescuers will notice the smoke and find you. But if you go, you might miss them. Both Jonathan and Savannah didn't sleep well and are starting their morning. While Savannah is preparing some coffee, Jonathan is taking out the trash. Who is doing something wrong? Jonathan. Instead of the trash, he's taking out the old toys they collected to donate. Stella and Aurora didn't study for the test. One of them decided to try her best, and the other is planning to cheat. Can you spot who's cheating? Stella. She has a lot of bags surrounding her, so she must be trying to hide something. Miles and Cooper were walking in a park when a sudden storm erupted. Lightning struck a tree, and Miles decided to hide under it. Cooper entered a little shack nearby. Who is wrong? Miles. The belief that lightning never strikes in the same place twice is just a common misconception. An indoor shelter is one of the best places to hide. Leo and Melanie are preparing a barbecue party. Leo is cooking, and Melanie is decorating the yard. Who is not smart? Leo. While he's cooking, the meat is spoiling in the direct sun. Congrats! That's it for today. Now, sum up your points. If you got 10 points or less, you scored below average. Don't be sad, it's just the beginning. You can check out some other riddles to train and prepare for the next round. If you got between 10 and 25 points, you scored average. Great! You're on the right way. And finally, if you got 26 points or more, you're in great intellectual shape. Here's an interactive medal from me and my admiration. Good for you! Two best friends, Jack and Tyler, went to a tropical island to surf and have some rest. After an active day at sea, they bought a large watermelon and ate it. In an hour or so, Tyler felt unwell and lost consciousness. Luckily, he was taken to a hospital in time. The doctors there managed to save his life. But Jack couldn't wrap his mind around what had happened. Both guys ate the same watermelon. Tyler didn't have any kind of an allergy. Then how come Jack was perfectly fine? Jack didn't eat watermelon seeds, and Tyler did. Whatever substance poisoned him was in the seeds. Jerry got a job as a security guard at a supermarket. On his first day, he heard an alarm go off when a young woman was leaving the store. He stopped her and asked whether she had a receipt. She did, so Jerry checked it and the girl's bag. Everything looked okay, but the man still called the police. Why? The date on the receipt was wrong. The girl had bought all the products the day before and then came back the next day to steal the same stuff. A wealthy businessman was poisoned at a restaurant. When the police arrived, they questioned all other visitors who were there at that time. Albert said he had been talking on the phone with his brother. Judy told the police she had been waiting in a bathroom line. Diana said she had been writing a report for her boss. And Philip said he had been putting on his clothes, ready to leave. Who's the culprit? It's Judy. Besides her, there were only 3 other visitors in the restaurant, and all of them were busy. There couldn't be any bathroom line. Catherine was a maid at the Smiths' house. One day she called the police and asked them to come as soon as possible. When they arrived, the woman told the officers the house owners were away on vacation. She was the only one to look after the house. In the morning, she went grocery shopping. On her way back, a man in a mask ran up to her and made her open the door and let him in. He tied Catherine to a chair, took all the valuables he could find, and sneaked out of the house. The woman started to shout for help. After some time, a passerby heard her shouting, entered the house, and untied her. Then he went away without leaving his name or phone number. After the detective heard this story, he arrested Catherine. Why? The Smiths' house is away from the town, in a forest. There aren't likely to be any passers-by in that area. Plus, the fence is high and thick. Even if Catherine had been shouting, no one would have heard her. Janice rented an apartment with 3 other girls. Once, her mom came to visit her. She gave her daughter some money. Janice put the bills under a book lying on her desk and went to see her mom off. When she returned, there was no money in the room. The girl questioned her neighbors. Natalie answered she had just returned from her morning run. Brittany told Janice she'd wanted to read the book. After taking it, she put the money in the middle drawer. Kayla said she had entered the room just once to look for her scarf. Who took the money? It was Brittany. The desk has no middle drawer. A unique diamond was exhibited in a popular museum. No wonder it was guarded day and night. Only small groups of people were allowed to enter the room with the diamond. One of such groups had just left when the security guards heard a shrill alarm go off. They dashed inside and found a man who seemed to be as shocked as they were. The diamond was in its place. The guards searched the man and found nothing unusual: a phone, a wallet, a lighter, a bottle with water, and a camera. They let the man go. But soon it was announced the diamond had been stolen. What happened? The man replaced the real thing with a fake gem. After that, he hid the famous diamond in his bottle with water. 2 girls, Tina and Betty, got lost in the forest. After some time, each of them found a clearing with lots of berries growing there. By that moment, the girls had been starving. They decided to snack on the berries. But for one of them, it's going to be a grave mistake. Which girl is that? Betty is eating the berries from endangered plants. She's not supposed to do it, but they won't make her sick. Tina is munching on the berries that have knocked off a bird. It means they might be poisonous for the girl too. Uh-oh. Maria was walking down the street when someone slammed into her. It was a man who immediately started to apologize. The girl looked at him attentively and said, "It's okay, Mark." How come she knew the man's name if he wasn't a celebrity and she had never seen him before? Maria knew the man's name because he was her friend's twin brother. Eric needs to get some documents from his colleague's safe. If he doesn't, he'll get fired the next day. But it turns out to be a tricky task. The safe has a password, and Eric has no idea how to crack it. It's a combination of letters OTTFFSS, with the last 3 letters missing. What are they? The missing letters are ENT. All of them are the first letters of the numbers from 1 to 10. One evening, Christian went to the backyard to enjoy some peanut cookies. He didn't want to leave any crumbs inside the house because his wife was allergic to nuts. But when the man opened the bag, he found just 1 cookie. Christian questioned his 3 kids. Alice, the eldest, puffed, "Don't you remember I'm on a diet?" Kelly, the middle child, said, "I was studying upstairs. I didn't have time for cookies." And Joe, the youngest, answered he had been too busy helping his mom to make a peanut butter cake. So, who gobbled down Christian's sweets? It was Joe. Christian's wife is allergic to nuts. It would be too risky to make a cake with peanut butter. A rich man's house was burgled. Strangely, the thieves didn't take anything except for 1 painting. When the police arrived, the confused house owner told them he had bought the canvas at auction. It didn't cost much. He had no idea why the criminals had chosen to steal it. Pretty soon, the police detectives figure out what was so special about the painting. Can you? It wasn't about the painting itself, but about its expensive and unique frame. Mr. Johnson disliked modern art. One day, he ran into the City Art Museum and caused damage to several paintings, which cost millions of dollars. Instead of being arrested, though, he was invited to the manager of the gallery. The man started to thank Mr. Johnson and promised he would be rewarded. How come? Mr. Johnson was a firefighter. The water he used to put out the flames damaged several masterpieces, but he still managed to extinguish the fire, saving many more precious exhibits.